I'm Steve with Adrenaline Barbecue Company, and today we're making Baltimore Pit Beef Sandwiches on our Weber Kettle with the Slow N Sear. Never heard of Baltimore Pit Beef? It's likely because it can't be found really outside of Maryland. It's basically a roast beef sandwich rubbed with herbs and spices and slow cooked to a juicy medium rare and made into a sandwich with some horseradish sauce and some onions. It's basically Maryland's answer to barbecue. So today we're gonna make it. So let's just get started. First thing we gotta do is dry brine the meat. I did this 2 days ahead of time because we're using a big 5-pound bottom round piece of beef. Took some kosher salt, seasoned all sides of the beef, and then put it in the refrigerator. Then we need to prepare the rub, which simply consists of dried rosemary, dried thyme, black pepper, granulated garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and cayenne. We're gonna set that aside and make the horseradish sauce for the sandwich. All you need to do is add a ½ cup of mayo and combine it with 3 tablespoons of jarred horseradish. Then we're just gonna slice up a couple onion rounds. We have our dried brine meat. We need to make sure that we pat it dry, and then we can apply the rub. Now that we've got all the components of our sandwich prepped and we've got our meat brined and rubbed, all we have to do is heat up the kettle and get the meat on there and get this thing cooked. I got the meat in the refrigerator just hanging out. It's gonna take a minute to get the coals heated up and then the fire sort of stabilized before we can get the meat onto the grill. I'm gonna use a chimney and fill it up halfway with some coals and add them unlit to the Slow N Sear. I'm gonna take the chimney again and add about 20 briquettes to it, along with 2 pieces of your choice of wood. I'm using pecan, and then get that white hot. And then once it's white hot, you can add it on top of the unlit coals in the Slow N Sear. Get a probe inside the grill to measure the temp, and then immediately get that lid on and get it heated up. Our target temperature is going to be about 225 to 250. It's okay if it jumps up to 275, but try and keep it below 275. And also one thing to note is we want a clean smoke, and the key to a clean smoke is a stable temperature and a stable fire. So we're going to wait until the temperature gets somewhere in our target range and wait for it to stabilize, and then that's how we're gonna create a nice clean smoke. And we got like a clear blue streak of smoke going, which is what you're looking for. So we got it stabilized around 230 degrees, 235 degrees, which is fine to start cooking. I got my bottom round rubbed here. I'm just gonna put it on the indirect side. I'm gonna put a thermometer inside the middle of the thickest part, and I'm gonna cook it there until it reaches an internal temperature of about 117, 120 degrees. Now I'm gonna cook that until it gets to about 80, 90 degrees internal temperature, see if it needs to be flipped. And then I'm gonna cook it again, covered, until it gets to an internal temperature of about 118 to 120 degrees. So it's about halfway done. I just wanna flip it so it's a little bit more even cook. And we've got some unwanted rain, but we're gonna push through. We're about 105 degrees. I have a chimney filled 3/4 of the way with charcoal that I'm going to get white hot now. This is gonna be the coals I use to sear the roast beef. And I'm gonna take it off when it gets to about 117 degrees and then get it ready to be seared. So I'm at about 118 degrees internal temperature. I'm gonna take it off. I'm going to load up the Slow N Sear with these white hot coals that I've been heating up. I got a cold grate ready. I'm gonna sear the roast beef on all sides using the cold grate technique. Then we're gonna bring it inside, let it rest up to 130 degrees internal, which is gonna be our final resting temp. Then we're gonna slice this thin and put these pit beef sandwiches together. Instantly you could smell that aroma from the herbs. It's just blooming and it smells amazing. So here we have it. We've just been letting this guy rest. We're going to toast up some buns and slice this guy up and get this thing rolling. The key to this sandwich is slicing the beef as thin as possible. This is a tougher piece of meat, and generally they're gonna be slicing it as thin as possible through a deli slicer. So we're just gonna wanna cut this guy in half so it gives us more control, and then just kind of slice into as thin slices as we can and get the sandwich going. That's perfect. See how it's against the grain? So it just pulls apart tender. It's really delicious. Perfect temperature, cooked perfectly, flavored. The herbs really come out from the sear. Just really, really delicious roast beef, homemade. You can't beat that. It's really good, like incredibly good. We didn't get a deli thin, but we got it thin enough. It's delicious, it's tender. I get all the herbs, I get smoke, and the meat is juicy and tender. The cream, horseradish cream, that's a classic combination with roast beef, so that kind of goes really well. The onion is nice, and a nice bun really ties it all together. It's an incredible sandwich. It can feed a ton of people. You'll have fresh roast beef for days. That's all I got today. I'm Steve with Adrenaline Barbecue Company, where we didn't invent the kettle, we perfected it.